Okay, you are given a chemical reaction or a chemical equation, and you need to balance it. So let's start with what you would be given. So let's say it's magnesium in a solid form plus oxygen gas. Here we go. Magnesium in the solid form plus oxygen gas yields magnesium oxide in the solid form. So in this case, it doesn't really matter what the states of matter are, so whether it's a solid, liquid, or gas, but that's just written there as part of the equation. It's just there. So the first thing we want to do is we wrote the equation. That was step one. Now we want to count the number of atoms. So first we make a list. We know it has magnesium and oxygen on both sides. So how many magnesiums do we have on this side? We have one atom because there's no coefficients and there's no subscripts. How many oxygens do we have? We have two because there's two here for a subscript and there's also no coefficients, so it's just two oxygens. Over here, we have one magnesium and we have one oxygen. So obviously it's not completely balanced because we have two oxygens on this side, but only one oxygen on this side. So we have to balance it. Well, our common multiple here is 2. And so we know that in order for 1 to get 2, we have to multiply by 2. So I'm going to add a 2 in front of the MgO, the magnesium oxide. And by doing that, now I know that there's 2 magnesiums and 2 oxygens. Okay, now my oxygens are equal, but now my magnesiums are not equal. So I can come over here and look and say, oh, but I can put a 2 in front of magnesium and make it a 2, and then everything should be equal. So I'm going to put a coefficient of 2 here, and now everything is equal. So we have 2 magnesium plus O2 yields 2 MgO. And that's how you balance the first one. Let's try another one. We know the substances that are involved in the reaction are barium sulfate, and it tells me that barium sulfate is BaSO4. And we have carbon, barium sulfide, and carbon monoxide. So plus carbon yields barium sulfide plus carbon monoxide. So that's our equation. Now we are going to figure out how to balance that. We're going to first see if it's balanced right off the bat. So we're going to list our elements. So we have barium, sulfur, oxygen, carbon. Same thing over here. Barium, sulfur, oxygen, carbon. Okay, let's count them. How many bariums do we have? We actually just have one. There's no subscript and there's no coefficient, so we just have one. How many sulfurs? There's no subscript and there's no coefficient, so we have one. How many oxygens? There are 4 oxygens because there's a subscript of 4 to the O. And how many carbons? We just have one. Let's go over here. We have 1 barium, no subscript, no coefficient. We have 1 sulfur, same thing. 1 carbon and 1 oxygen. All right, so right off the bat, we see that our oxygens are not equal to each other. So I know that the common multiple between 4 and 1 is 4. And so I am going to multiply this 1 by 4. So to get 4 oxygens, I'm going to put a 4 in front of the CO. Why did I do the coefficient and not the subscript? You cannot change the subscripts. You can only change coefficients. But by doing that, now I end up also with 4 carbons, right? So I end up with 4 carbon atoms. Well, over here I only have 1 carbon atom. So I got to come back over here and I have to say, okay, I have 1, but I can multiply it by 4 and get 4. And so I'm going to put a 4 in front of this carbon, and now everything is balanced. BaSO4 plus 4 carbon yields BaS plus 4 CO. All right, let's do one more, and then I think you guys can do your homework without me. All right, we're going to do magnesium chloride plus this one's a little tricky. Okay, so here is my equation. We need to count up our atoms. So I'm going to make a list. Magnesium, chlorine, nitrogen, oxygen, same thing over here. I'm going to do them in the same order for the sake of ease of seeing it later. If you separate it, if you do it in a different order, it's going to make it a little confusing. Okay? All right. So how many magnesiums do I have over here? I have 1. How many chlorines? 2. How many, I think this is gold. Silver? Silver, gold. Oh, where's my periodic table? Silver. Okay, silver. Gold is AU. All right, so we have silver nitrate in this problem. So we have how many of those? Just 1 silver. We have 1 nitrogen and 3 oxygens. Now coming over here. This one's only tricky because of these 2 different subscripts. We'll talk about it. So let's do magnesium has 1. Chlorine has 1. Silver has 1. Nitrogen, okay? This subscript is in reference to this whole thing in parentheses. So there's 2 nitrogen. Oxygen, this subscript is for this whole thing in parentheses. Well, there's 3 O's and there's 2 of these nitrate ions. So that means there's 6 oxygens because there's 2 of these total, and in 1 there's 3 oxygens. So you do 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, so now we can see that several things are out of whack here. Our magnesiums are equal, but our chlorines are not. And our silvers are equal, but our nitrogens and our oxygens are not. So we just kind of get started. Honestly, you can kind of pick whatever you want. Sometimes if you pick the lower numbers, that can make it easy, but we might have to work back and forth a couple times. So I'm actually going to switch to using a pencil for a minute because that might help so that if we make a mistake, we can erase it. Okay. So I don't know, I haven't done this one yet, so I'm going to just change my oxygens first. I am going to multiply 3 by 2 to get 6 because I need 6 and I only have 3 over here. So I'm going to put a 2 coefficient in front of this. So now I know it's going to be 6. But when I did that, then I ended up with 2 silver. And over here I only have 1 silver. So then I can come over here and say, well, I'm definitely going to have to add a 2 there to get my 2. But now by doing that, I've upped my game to 2 chlorine. Okay, so all is good there. Oh, but I also didn't account for the fact that I also have 2 here because that 2 also applies to this nitrogen. It applies to the silver, the nitrogen, and the oxygen. So now that fixed. There we go. We got it. So now we have a balanced equation. It should be magnesium chloride plus 2 silver nitrate yields magnesium magnesium nitrate plus silver chloride. So, and there's 2 here and 2 here. Okay, hopefully that helped you some. We did 3 together, 3 more than the one we did in class. You have 7 to try at home, plus 1 is done for you in the homework. So if you have a question, please send me a specific question. I'd be glad to help. Or you are welcome to come in at 7:30 on Wednesday for extra help. I hope you guys have a good Tuesday. Talk to you later.